Hey, welcome to another edition of Parenting the Clay Way. I'm John Clay.
And I'm Travis McCabe.
Travis joins us from Green Bean Coffee and other exploits around the community and getting in trouble as always. Thanks for being here. We wanted to talk about pets today and what it's like to have pets and kids, choosing pets, what kind of pets, that kind of thing. I've always had dogs ever since I've had the boys.
Sure.
So they've grown up with a dog always in the house, a one or two. What kind of pets have you had with over the years?
I feel like I've had everything. Obviously, I've had fish. Dogs has always been a go-to. I've had rabbits, ferrets. I've even had a pet rat at one time. Cats.
So
I've run the gambit. I've been like Noah's Ark.
Now, how much of it was your choice, and how much were the kids going, Dad, we really want this?
You know what? That was all through me. Since the boys and stuff like that, it's only been dogs. Our youngest son, Adrian, actually, he just was babysitting. A friend of ours, they went on vacation and they had a hairless guinea pig, and he was like, I'll babysit it. So we had a hairless guinea pig in our house for about 10 days, give or take. And
so a rat, basically.
Yeah, it's what it looked like, So, yeah. But historically, we have a cat. And I keep on forgetting about Suju. She was actually a stray that we brought in, and she's just has stayed with us. So
what? So one of the things that is interesting about pets is, of course, kids are always asking. In my case, anyway, are always asking for new pets, something interesting. They always just want. They're bored and they just want to change up their life and add something that they see in a movie or a TV show or Friends or whatever. And they always want to add a cat or something cute and fluffy and all that stuff. But they certainly don't necessarily want to take care of it, right? And they don't want to do the tasks that are required. And so even just, with one dog, right now we have one dog, and the easiest task we would have would be to go pick up the poop in the yard.
Sure.
That's very easy with the little scooper and a bucket, it doesn't take really anything, or a baggie or whatever. And I rarely can get the boys to do that. And my opinion has been, I'm not really going to add on another pet unless you show responsibility for the pet we have.
Absolutely.
And so if you can show me that this is something you want to take care of, you're taking care of our existing pet, then I will consider, it looks like maybe you could take care of a new pet if we wanted. For example, the kids would love to have an iguana or a cat or, other things.
Sure.
And I'm debating whether I would allow it, but at this point, I really just don't want the extra effort onto me because I'm already dealing with the dog by myself.
Right, and for a fact you're going to be the one that's probably going to end up taking care of said iguana.
Yes, yeah, and it's already hard enough to leave the house, and do I need to have someone take care of the dog at times or whatever. Now I'm going to have to add that to the mix. Like, could you also feed my iguana? So at the moment, I'm still waiting to see the responsibility. As you can see, these boys are kind of a lot of energy. I wish I could channel that to productive things, and I feel like I could do that eventually, but at this point they're just all over the board and they really can't commit to being responsible for tasks and chores in general.
Right. And as much as we all love having a pet, it's a living creature, that we have to take responsibility for. It's your baby to a point. It can't feed itself. If it has to go outside, you train it, it'll tell you. But if you're just like, I'm sorry, I'm still wrapped up in the TV, and it ends up going in the house because, you were too busy doing this, and you end up yelling at the dog or, doing whatever, it's like, it can't tell you, dude, I was trying to tell you that I had to go out, but you decided to do this. So, there's so much responsibility for it. And like you said, when you start bringing in a pet with younger children, I think we have to be realists about it and be like, this is our animal.
It's probably going to be
mine. And hopefully we'll end up, the children will step into the role of being like, hey, the dog needs to be fed. Feed the dog. Oh, I'll get to it. No, it needs to be fed now. And sometimes I feel you have to be a jerk about it. But ultimately, it's a living animal. It can't take care of itself. There's a reason why it's a house pet.
For those looking for any tips, anything that's been successful, I'll just share from my perspective. Having a list of what is required for the boys to do, whether it's a part of what their jobs are with the pets or with the household or with their rooms or with their homework or brushing teeth, having a list of things that have to be checked off has been the most successful in letting them know, here, if you how is the list coming, and they can go back and there's no real argument about it. It's kind of black and white, literally, about did you either check it off or not. And so adding pet responsibilities into that list, I think, has been effective. And it doesn't necessarily mean they do that. They'll still ignore all of their tasks. But it's been the best way to have that conversation where it's not back and forth, back and forth. It's pretty clear. Did you do the chores or not?
Right.
And if you're not doing the chores, then you're not getting the allowance, and/or you're not getting any additional pets and things like that.
Right. And that sounds great. The biggest thing that I personally have found, and this is happening with teenage boys, is like, well, I did it last time. It's so and so's time right now, and they're like, but I did it the time before. So it's just like, nobody, they're putting the blame. It's like, well, responsibility is yours now. Responsibility. It's like, I don't care whose responsibility.
Yeah.
One of you go do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who happened last time. It doesn't matter this. The dog's hungry. Go feed the dog.
It's so typical of one of the difficulties with kids is, and a lot of people in life too. I mean, coworkers are like this too. Is that they put so much energy in fighting the battle over the chore. If they would have put part of that energy into the chore itself, it would have been done already.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll spend 20 minutes arguing about who should feed the dog when feeding the dog takes 2 minutes.
Exactly.
And that gets frustrating.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who done it. It takes 5 minutes. It's not like it's back-breaking work. Even letting the dog out. I'm sorry that you have to actually go outside and see the sun, for a little bit while you're spending outside with your said puppy.
Yeah.
It's like there's kids out there who'd love to have a puppy. Feel fortunate. We have 3 Australian Shepherds. Feel fortunate you have a dog, that loves you. And, but it's funny bringing up the love of the animal. They'll be the first to be like, oh, like for our one Aussie, Stormy, like, oh, I love Stormy so much, and they'll play and they'll snuggle her, this and that, what? But she's hungry. Oh well.
Yeah. They do forget when they get distracted,
right?
Or that when they do try to do things at certain ages, they may not put the lid back on the food or whatever. Right. I did something today actually that was fun, and I said, look, we got to get outside. So we're turning everything off. We're going outside. It was a beautiful day. And I said, let's see how many times the dog, our dog is Coconut, will fetch in a row.
Sure.
So I throw the tennis ball, and Jack said his record was 8 or 9 times in a row without taking a break.
Right.
And so I was about trying to beat that, and so I made it around a competition and around that I was participating too. It wasn't just me telling them what to do, and I did feel it was effective in getting everybody together on the same page. And now I feel I can build on that, and I can say, okay, why don't you go try to beat my record?
Right.
And now it's not about exercising the dog; it's about having fun and trying to beat Dad's record.
Right.
Which that can be more compelling, I think, oftentimes.
Creating the competition aspect within the family.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And any pets that you'd recommend that you found, hey, maybe avoid? I mean, for me, the ferret, I've always heard they're so smart, they'll get into everything. That seems like it may be a dangerous one.
Oh, you know what? I loved my ferret. I had him forever. And you know what? It was so funny. I had him trained whenever I was younger. I used to call him Ricky Tikki Tavi from the old, the old cartoon in the book. But I could literally, when I'd wear a ball hat, I'd sit him on my ball hat, and he'd sit there on the brim of my hat, and I'd walk down the street with this ferret on him,
Yeah.
And he was amazing, smart. Some people don't like the odor. You can get them descended and stuff like that, but I'll tell you what, smart as a whip. Loved them. Not for everyone. A lot of people are like, oh my God, because they're squirmy and this and that, or fuzzy weasel, whatever. Yeah. But I love the ferret. My personal one, though, that I would say avoid, turtles. Oh my God, forget about it. Just, cleaning the tank, that was a nightmare for Braden, which ended up being me as a constant basis. He'd get the turtle out and set it on the floor and play with it. I'm like, yeah, it's a turtle. Yeah. But at the end of the day, cleaning the tank was just like, hey, did you do it? And then, he was smaller, so he couldn't lift up the tank to clean it and do things. So regardless if he was cleaning it, I still ended up having to help,
And those one issue with turtles is they can live a long time.
Right.
So that could be and some of these pets, I mean, are reasonably lifetime. In terms of the time that they're living in the home, which might be anywhere from 10 to 18 years or 17. You hope, hope they're leaving at 17, 18. That they recognize that this is going to be a pet this is a chore they're going to have for the rest of their time when they're at home.
Right.
And that's something that we don't always think about. Rabbits, and one of our coworkers here had a rabbit that they thought would only be around for a couple years, and he just always talked about how, oh my God, this rabbit, it just will not die. Now, whatever. And so it ended up being funny, but like I said, turtles I have heard are an issue that you don't quite think it does get a little bit boring because what does it do?
Right.
It doesn't put a lot of energy into you.
Yeah, it's not interacting.
It doesn't fetch.
It doesn't fetch. It comes out and looks at you and then goes back in the water.
Well, and the type I want to say too, and one other note I wanted to make is they definitely recommend you don't generally give pets as gifts, especially dogs and cats and holidays and Christmas and stuff. It needs to be this process, and what I explained to the boys, we have to go through to make sure everything's ready in our household, and that you're emotionally like this shouldn't be something that you put in a box and like give it as a Christmas gift or whatever, because I feel like it just doesn't treat it with the respect that it needs if you're just sort of flippantly giving a gift like that.
Right, I agree. And I think when it comes to certain pets, temperament's huge. Just because. Like, oh, I bought a puppy, this and that. Well, what's the temperament of the puppy? Dogs especially, they all have their own characteristics. They all have their own, personalities, and get a personality to match. Get a dog that's going to match. We have Australian Shepherds that are very, very active dogs. Well, we're an active family, so it works well. But you wouldn't get an active dog for a family who prefers to stay inside, or for somebody who's single and they're a gamer and the dog's like, hey, I want to go out, let's go do this, let's go do that, and it becomes more of a nuisance to the person. Well, it's not the dog's fault. It's just that's the breeding of the dog. So I think finding a pet that suits your personality and your lifestyle, as well as the personality of the animal itself and breed, you have to find something that's going to match.
I totally agree with a lab, but we have what high energy there is, and the kids do get upset with the tail hurts a little bit, when it smashes into you, and it'll jump, it'll knock kids over and stuff, and that can be a bit to deal with. And it's certainly, and she's only about 50 pounds. I mean, they can get up towards 120 pounds, and some of these dogs. So that's definitely something to consider. And it's interesting that you say I feel it's sort of strange, unfortunate, whatever, that we're like, well, what's the best dog for a gamer? But that's the truth. That's the world we live in now.
Exactly.
Is that there's a lot of people that are spending a lot of time on their computers, and they have to consider a pet that is going to be conducive to that environment, not a dog that needs to get out and exercise multiple times a day.
Right.
So.
Yeah, a high energy dog just wouldn't be good for a gamer. Yeah. You'd be pausing every hour just to go play with the dog or whatnot.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our discussion about pets and kids, and we invite you to share some of your comments at our Facebook page. And tune in next time. We'll enjoy another edition of Parenting the Clay Way. I'm John Clay.
I'm Travis McCabe.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.